Thanks for joining this webinar. Can you all hear me? Just a thumbs up. Thank you very much. Sound clear? That's good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sensitive to people in stress because I've been working for many years with young people. And obviously, for me, it was more of a stressful situation for me than for them because I had very serious cases of suicide and anxiety attacks and depression and so on. And so I'm a bit sensitive to this topic, but that doesn't take away the value of the fact that we need to address the topic of stress. Another thing that I'm sensitive to is if you invite people to a stress workshop like this, you actually imply something, you say something to them. What you say is, I believe that you are under stress, and I don't want to do that. It's not fair towards people to just assume this. The reason why I've decided to run this workshop, and maybe we'll do another one, and your feedback will be very valuable for us in terms of running another one like this, is we are living in a very, very challenging time in history, a seriously, seriously challenging time. And some of us don't experience this because we sort of go with the flow. We sort of in this together and we say, well, next week they will lift lockdown and in 2 weeks time, maybe it'll be better. But we are 100 days down the line and things are not looking good. People are losing their jobs. People take pay cuts, families with 3 and 4 children, where the dad lost his job and the mother had to take a pay cut, or they lost their business. The business had to close down. I follow a few advertising agencies in terms of hardware. And it's just so bad to see that somebody sells a coffee machine worth 100,000 Rand for 20,000 Rand to buy food for his family. And he says it. He said, I had to close my coffee shop down and I will sell my coffee machine for 20,000 Rand to buy food for my family. So this is a tough time and we're not going to escape this. Now, what happened, ladies and gentlemen, is because it's such a sudden, impactful change reality, what happens in our world is that the fact that it is so quick and so sudden just pushes us and forces us out of our comfort zone. And suddenly we need to deal with serious challenges and serious stress in our lives. And because I've been working with this for many years as a minister and and I've been doing a lot of coaching and counseling over my lifetime. And I still work with it, obviously, just in very specialized cases. I decided that I'm going to run the workshop and Shadow Match presents us with a lot of the machinery that we need to deal with stress. So what you need, ladies and gentlemen, you need your Shadow Match results graph with you. So if you have it, get it out, get it in front of you. I will show you what it looks like. It's part of your full report. It's on your Shadow Match full report. It's part of the pack. It's sort of at the end of the pack. And I will show you my results because I always use my results, and I will share screen with you. And before we get into the results, I will just get my screen on with you. So what I've decided to do is to name this a coping workshop with the stress of a changing world, because that's what we actually have to face in this world of us. So what we have done, ladies and gentlemen, is what I want us to do is, this is the graph, the Shadow Match results graph that I want you to have in your hands. Now, this information, ladies and gentlemen, is what we will work with for the next 50 minutes or so. And we will go through this. And when we deal with stress, when we look at the graph of our habits, our behavioral patterns or habits, this graph has got a lot of information that will empower us to deal with stress in a very, very positive and a meaningful way. When we take a look at this, we're going to take emphasis on this part of the graph, the attitude part. This is the working engine of our habits when we deal with stress, the attitude and the 4 quadrants of the attitude. Now, as you know, there's been for many years, probably we will then, before I go into many years, we will then integrate our habits with the graph of our attitude. So these 2 things, we will integrate these 2 in order to understand how we deal with stress. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is that if you run out of making notes, don't worry, we will send you the link to the video, and you can then watch the video later on again and go through it, and obviously stop it whenever you want to, just to go into the detail of what we are doing. So when we look at this attitude graph, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, it's that part, this bottom part that we will be using, the attitude part, and we will integrate it with our habits. We have heard many people and many qualified, highly qualified people say that, and it's true, it's a good philosophy, it's a good theory, there's nothing wrong with the theory. I'm a bit critical about the detail of it, but I'll share with you what my criticism is. When in danger, or when we are challenged, or we are under stress, we tend to fight or flee. This is a very old psychological frame of understanding our behavior. And it's so well known, ladies and gentlemen, that everybody will say, well, you know what happened, fight or flee. So this person decided to flee. Or you know what happened? When we're under pressure or we are in the face of danger, we fight or we flee. So this person decided to fight. It's a good theory, but there's a problem. Not all people fight or flee when they are faced with stress. Some people do something different, ladies and gentlemen. Not all of us either run away or fight. Some people get themselves together, they gather themselves, they take a few moments out, they plan, and then they deal with it. Then they engage the threat, they engage the stressor, because a stressor is the source of the stress in our lives. In other words, what is it that causes the stress in my life? So some people don't run away. They don't hide. They don't flee. They don't fight. They gather themselves, they stand their ground, and they say, I want to deal with this thing. I will deal with this the best I can. Because if I fight, in a fight, there's a loser and a winner, and I might be the loser. And like in Game of Thrones, where they said, in this town, you don't lose, you die. So losing a fight, ladies and gentlemen, can be very expensive. It can compromise our self-esteem. Running away from a problem doesn't really work, because problems, they have a tendency to follow us. They run with us. Problems and challenges and stressors have a tendency to fight back. And then we might not be on the losing side of this. So what we must do, ladies and gentlemen, when we are in a situation of stress, like we are currently in, all of us, we need to gather ourselves, stand our ground, and first of all, we need to engage the stress. We need to handle it. We need to deal with it. And we need to, in a way, bring it down so that the impact of the stressor is less. So there's another position that we need to take. When we are stressed, when we are in the face of danger or a stressor, yeah, some people fight, some flee, but some deal with it. Some of us engage with the stress, engage with the challenges. We do not run away. We do not run back into history to find the reasons for this situation to develop. We do not try to explain it. We gather our strengths and we deal with it. The challenge is, how do we deal with this? Now, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing is, if we look at our attitude chart, let me just explain quickly. Category 1 people, this is my graph. Category 1 people are unaggressive, involved. So their habits push their behavior to get involved, to engage, and to be unaggressive. Positive, unaggressive engagement with the world around them. Category 2 people, these people, they are involved, so they engage, but they could become aggressive. This is my second strongest behavioral pattern. I can, if my energy of engagement has been used to that point, I can become a bit assertive. Then number 3 on our circle, ladies and gentlemen, is these people are assertive, sometimes aggressive, but they are uninvolved. So these people do not engage the challenges. They can be very vocal about it, but they don't engage it. Category 4 people are unaggressive and uninvolved. They just hide and walk away from it, quietly walk away from it. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of these, ladies and gentlemen. These are just our habits, and there's a benefit in all these 4 quadrants. So what we have, ladies and gentlemen, is if we look at our behavioral pattern, that we fight, we flee, then we see that category 2 people, the people in this quadrant that are involved, aggressive, they engage, assertive, and if necessary, they fight. So category 2 people, if that is your strongest category, in other words, the largest portion of the graph is filled on your side, for instance, in category 2, your first reaction to a threat will be to be assertive and to say, but I can engage this thing and I can probably fight it down. It's a good strategy. It's a good strategy. There's nothing wrong with it. But sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, we just cannot win the fight. Currently, we are in a situation, and this is why I've decided to run this workshop. Currently, we are in a situation where we cannot fight the enemy. We cannot fight the situation. We cannot fight the economic realities of the world. It's like trying to stop a tsunami with a skateboard. It's just not going to happen. We can't fight this virus. We don't have a medicine for it. We can't fight the lockdown, the legalities, the legislation is against us if we want to fight. So sometimes this category 2 behavior just doesn't work. Category 3 and 4, ladies and gentlemen, the 2 categories below the line are uninvolved. So they will tend to turn away from and flee the challenge, the stressor, the danger, the frustration, or even the hidden elements of the stressor. They might even refuse to acknowledge that there is a stressor, and that's their way of fleeing and getting away from it. So now it's important, ladies and gentlemen, you will see in my graph, I've got a strong category 1. We'll get to that now, category 2. So I can become a bit difficult and assertive. It's very difficult for me to be uninvolved and just be vocal about it and be unhappy about it. I can do it, but there's very limited, you know, I must be very frustrated and very irritated with the situation because my behavior there is very small. There it sits there in the corner. And then obviously category 4, I can walk away, but also it's not a preference of my habits. So now, ladies and gentlemen, what we need to understand a little bit of detail on this. Category 1 people, these people, they engage in an unaggressive way. They deal with, solve, and make positive progress with a stressor. So what the category 1 person do, what they do, ladies and gentlemen, is they engage, they get involved. This is our habit of getting involved. They get their hands into the stressor. They get their hands into the problem. They stand in front of the person with whom they have a relationship problem as one of the stressors in their lives. When they lose an income, they engage the problem in a positive way by saying, how can I fill this income gap that I now have because of a salary cut? So they become active in terms of a participant in the problem that they face. They engage the challenge. Category 4 people have a tendency to, in a soft and quiet manner, become absent. They just sort of disappear. They just remove themselves from the stressor and the danger point. And then category 3 people, ladies and gentlemen, they flee, but with visible irritation. They will voice their frustrations. So these are the 4 quadrants. Our attitude quadrants, ladies and gentlemen, the upper half of the circle, above the line, they become involved. The green block, category 1, they become involved in an unaggressive and a very positive and an active way to deal with a stressor and the stress. Category 2 people will get involved, but they will become assertive, and their approach, their attitude is, this is a win and lose situation. And I must get myself in a winning situation. The problem is, what if winning is not possible? The problem, ladies and gentlemen, is what if winning and to engage a challenge with the aim that it becomes a fight or a dispute, and there's not a chance of winning it. Then we build up more stress, and we build up more frustrations, and we get more irritated with the situation because there's no space for me to live my assertive behavior and my assertive attitude in a positive way. So I cannot fight the virus, for instance. Category 3, as I said, they will flee, disengage, move away. And category 4 people, in a bit with a noise, a bit with a vocal voice. Category 4 people will, in a soft and a very sort of unaggressive and a quiet manner, just hide themselves, take themselves away from the challenge, and then start to make a plan away from the problem. Then they will start to sort of reorganize themselves away from the challenge and the stressor and what is a threat in their lives. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what we need to do now is we need to now integrate our attitude with our habits. That's what we said. I'm going to take myself as an example, and I want you to do the same, but with your results as your habit graph. The first step is we need to identify our 4 soft habits. In other words, those with the lowest score. My soft habits, ladies and gentlemen, is on the far left there. Very weak habit here, propensity to hand off. This is a very weak habit in my life, so it's not developed and it's not prominent. I battle to hand off, especially important things for other people to do. So one of my second soft habits on the list is here, routine. Just following a pattern and a routine without thinking about the meaning of the pattern, or just a repetitive lifestyle, doing the same thing every day, every week, every month, every year. That habit in my life is very weak. And it's from time to time a challenge, ladies and gentlemen. Lizette mentioned that I've started to play the cello. If you want to play cello, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very easy instrument to learn. There's nothing in it. But the frustration that I have is to sit down and practice. The routine content for me is just too much. So I get irritated. I play for 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and then I do something different. Another habit, ladies and gentlemen, on the soft side in my life, you must now identify your 4 soft habits, the ones with the lowest score, is this one here, people positive. There, my people positive habits, I'm I'm very positive about people, ladies and gentlemen, but my points get depleted very quickly. So I can sit in a counseling session with somebody for 45 minutes or an hour, then my points are finished. Then I need to take a break for a day and see another person, maybe tomorrow or the day after. So it's not that I don't like people. It's just that I haven't got enough habits or patterns in my neurons, in my brain, to engage people in a very intense and a very long period of time. So I just don't have the points available for that. It's like a reserve that runs out quickly. And then the fourth one on my list is altruism. This is helping people in need without expecting something back. So these are my 4 low habits. What stress does, ladies and gentlemen, it hammers me on these habits. And if I am in a situation where I have to hand off important things to somebody else and I'm in a stressful situation, I just cannot do it. I just cannot do it. If I have to follow strict routines, this lockdown was tough for me, ladies and gentlemen. I behaved in a very civil way, but it was tough for me. And I dealt with it, and I used my other strong habits to do other things. But the routine of the lockdown was very tough for me. And when I'm in stress, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, these habits that you see here, people positive and altruism, I just can't do it. I just cannot do it. When I'm in stress, I just don't have energy or points available to spend on people. I can't do it. So now, ladies and gentlemen, these 4 habits, listen carefully, these 4 habits, what they will do to me is they will want me to run away. They will want me to run away. Luckily for me, ladies and gentlemen, I am not strong in the below the line, uninvolved attitude. That saves me. Because if my attitude looked like this, if my attitude looked like that, in other words, it was a round circle, all the quadrants were equally strong, then these habits could gather a lot of energy in the uninvolved part of my attitude. And those 4 weak habits in my life would have made me run away from a situation very easily. Luckily, I do not have the breeding ground for them so that they can those habits can overpower me because of their weak development in my life. So I am very fortunate, ladies and gentlemen, that these 4 weak habits that I have, these soft habits, do not have a breeding ground under the line. But ladies and gentlemen, if you have strong category 3 or 4 attitude quadrants, be very careful. If stress starts to work on your lowest habits, you will feel the urge just to get out. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, where people report this feeling of they feel that they suffocate, they can't breathe, they sleep badly, they become irritated, they become aggressive because they feel an urge to get out. This urge to get out of the face of the stressor or the danger point, the frustration, the irritation, the thing that is a threat in my life, that source of stress. If these 4, if the stress gets hold on my life through these 4 low habits, I'm in big trouble. Now, this is being compounded, ladies and gentlemen, if there's a breeding ground in my habits, in my attitude below the line, then I get the feeling that I must get out. So this is what we must be very careful of, ladies and gentlemen. We must take serious care of our soft habits, because our soft habits is a threat to our sanity and our wellness in a situation of stress like we are currently in, because it brings out an urge for us to run, to flee, and to hide and to get out of the stressor's, the stressor's presence. Be very careful. So I must steer my life away from helping people, unnecessarily helping people in need, the altruism habit. I must steer my life away from over-engagement with people. I must steer my life away from routine, and I must steer my life away from handing important stuff in my life to other people to do. So I must steer away from this, because this is where the stress will get a grip into my mind and into my psychology, and then forces me into category 3-4 behavior, where I develop an urge and a need to run away and to flee away from the stressor. But ladies and gentlemen, luckily for us, we also have strong habits. So let's identify, each one of us, take your graph and identify your 4 strongest habits. There where the arrows are, these are mine. My 4 strongest habits are propensity to own, obviously the opposite of propensity to hand off, duh. And then to simplify, my strongest habit, ladies and gentlemen, is to make complicated things easy to understand and to simplify things. And then here, somewhere just to the right of the middle, there I have problem solving as one of my strongest habits. I think it's second. And then responsiveness is number 4. If you have a 5th one that is equally as strong as number 4 on your list, you can add number 5, but rather stick to 4, because the strategy later on becomes a bit complicated. If we add number 5, I could then add self-confidence, but I don't want to, because it makes it, I want to simplify. Remember, I want to simplify it. So these are my strong habits. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in a moment of stress, these are my best friends. In a moment where I'm threatened, where I have to deal with hostility, with a problem that I cannot fight, I cannot run away from it. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is actually the focus point and the reason why our current situation is a stress madness manufacturing plant. The reason for this, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot fight the virus. Everybody tells us, one day you will get it, just relax. The second thing is, we don't have a vaccine. The medicines that we have for treatment, it's sort of, you know, your body must fight this thing. And if you are compromised in any way, you are in big trouble. And then, ladies and gentlemen, over and above this, the lockdown, the destruction of the economy, the workplace, the income of people, the financial situation of the world and the country, our social demise, and the fact that we have been so compromised in our social engagement, which is a very strong source of power in dealing with stress, is our society and our connectedness to each other. Suddenly we don't have it. Now, in this situation, ladies and gentlemen, bank on it. Your 4 strongest habits are your friends. They are your best friends. So what I need to do, and you need to now identify your 4 strongest habits. What I need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is I need to refer to these habits: propensity to own, to simplify, problem solving, and responsiveness as my allies in a moment of stress. Because these 4 habits, ladies and gentlemen, because they are my strongest habits, they are the energy sources to help me to become involved, to engage the challenge that I face, not to run away, not to hide, not to make a noise and get out of its way, but to engage the challenge at hand. But ladies and gentlemen, there's a specific way, because these 4 habits can either make me fight the problem, in other words, create an assertive sort of a spirit of fight. And it's easy for me. Remember, my category 2 attitude is quite strong. It's very easy for me that these habits can guide themselves to build a fight in my life with the situation or the stress or the enemy or the hostility or the hostile situation. What I must do, ladies and gentlemen, I must now actively guide these four strong habits so that they focus on attitude category 1 behavior. So what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is we need to build category 1 attitude. And the building blocks of a category 1 attitude is the 4 strongest habits that have been identified by the Shadow Match system. So the 4 habits that is most prominently and actively embedded in the neurons of my brain are the most easy power sources that I have, because they are there, they are alive, they are fit, they are well, and they are available. I can call on them any time of the day or night to deal with something that is a challenge in my life. But there's a trick, ladies and gentlemen. There's a reason why we need to go through this workshop. I must actively direct my 4 habits to promote attitude category 1 behavior. Now your question might be, but Peter, what if I'm category 3? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's fine. But in a crisis, we need to spend our energy, and in your full report, ladies and gentlemen, the attitude category 1 is well described. It's a well described paragraph, and there's an interpretation page with it. It's a behavior of to engage, to stay positive, to be focused, not to be aggressive, because once we become aggressive, we lose the energy of resolving the issue. So it's an attitude that starts by walking to the problem, by engaging the problem. It's an action-based attitude. I do things. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please bear with me. I'm extremely critical about the idea that we can outthink a problem. We can't outthink problems. We must outlive problems. We must make it an action plan and not a thinking plan. And I will show you, we will get to it in a moment. So these habits must become active to engage the stressor. But be careful, ladies and gentlemen, steer these habits to category 1 engagement with the stressor. So we must engage the stressor. Let's have a look. For me, this is my approach in stress, ladies and gentlemen, is I now take 2 points, 1 or 2 point critical points where I can use these 4 strong habits. And you must now identify your 4 strong habits, and you must identify action points related to your 4 strong habits that will enable and empower you to engage the stress in your life. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, the sources of stress in my life can be suddenly I have to work from home, and my home is not a workplace. It's not being set up as a workplace. I cannot do it. Suddenly I have to deal with relationships day and night in a lockdown situation that becomes stressful, and it's on the losing end of a meaningful relationship. You cannot run away from it. You cannot fight the relationship and fix it by running away or fighting it. You have to, in a positive way, engage that problem. How do I engage it? How do you engage it? We each must use our 4 strongest habits to engage the challenge, whatever the challenge is. If it's loss of income, if it's loss of my business, if my business are on the verge of close down, or I've lost a lot of clients, or if it's work from home, a relationship, whether it's a financial, we must take our 4 habits and say, let's sit together and engage this problem and work out an action plan to resolve it. So this is my action plan, ladies and gentlemen, for dealing with stress. I use my 4 habits, and on the right-hand side, the right top corner, that's my plan. So I take my propensity to own and I say there are two important aspects on this habit that I must keep in mind is I must take ownership of the solution. In other words, I must be the solution. I must not hand the solution off to other people to solve problems for me. I must take ownership of the stress in my life. I must engage the relationship that doesn't work. I must engage the work from home stress that I experience. And I must take ownership of this. And I have to do it. My second habit to simplify in a stressful situation, ladies and gentlemen, this is my magic solution. I find and follow the easy way. I fight with a problem until I have simplified this thing to the point where I say to myself, I can deal with this. It's not difficult, it's easy. I fight with it until I have simplified it to the level where I can deal with it. So, and if I don't get it right, ladies and gentlemen, I change the question. I ask a different question because sometimes the question just brings out too much complications in the scenario. And I change the question, I ask a different question, but I'm obsessed to simplify the issue. Then on problem solving, ladies and gentlemen, what I do with the stress in my life is I treat the stressor as a problem that must be resolved. I turn it into a mathematical equation if I can. I make it a numbers game. I do anything to turn the stress problem or the stress that I experience or the threat that I have or the hostility of the situation, and I turn it into a problem and I say, if this was a problem, what is the solution? And that's how I deal with it. I make it a problem because I can solve problems. And then obviously my number 4 on my friendship list, ladies and gentlemen, is to be responsive. I do it immediately. If I decide that solving this problem is by means of writing a book, then I write the book. I do the ABC thing, apply, bottom to chair, and I kill it. I just sit down and I do it. And when do I do it? I do it now. So, and these are my weapons. This is how I deal with stress. And this enables me, ladies and gentlemen, to sort of stay on top of the situation and to keep myself on top of the stressor and the hostility of my world. Because I understand building a category 1 engagement, attitude of engagement in a positive, non-aggressive manner by using my 4 strongest habits as my allies and my friends. So what must you do? Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, the argument that when we are under threat, we fight or we flee, it's a good theory. It's a very good one. But it's not the complete one. And I don't think it answers the problem. Fighting might end up in me losing the fight. Running away, as I said, problems have a tendency to run with me. They follow us. Finding a hiding place where I can hide myself, problems tend to find me. Now, I don't have to, challenges and stress and hostility, they have the ability to find me. So the responsible, mature thing to do is to engage it. To engage it in an unaggressive, positive way. We don't want to fight because there's a risk of losing. We don't want to run away because there's a risk of being found and being followed. We want to stand up and deal with it in a way that we will win. We will win. We will find a solution. We will find a way out. And the only way that we can win this thing, ladies and gentlemen, the only way out is through. We engage it. If we do not engage the stress points in our lives, we are on the losing side. We cannot talk them away, think them away, wish them away. We will have to work them away. We can only work them away if we engage them. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, what we need to do is we need to apply actively, engage our 4 strongest habits in a category 1 attitude manner to the stressors. But now we must be able to identify the stress. And we must be able to identify where do we have to engage our energy, and where do we have to get a grip on this situation to deal with it? The best, ladies and gentlemen, is to ask ourselves not what is the stressor, but what is the solution. The stressor is easy to identify. I've lost my job. Then I need to put all my energy together to find another job or to find an alternative income. I am in a bad situation with my husband or my wife or my colleague or my employer or my neighbor, my brother or my family or somebody that lives with me as a family, an adult family member of the extended family. We cannot wish this away. We must engage the challenge and ask ourselves, how do we engage this towards a solution? And our 4 habits, our 4 strong habits are the allies that we need to call in to make this work. So what you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is you need to write a strategy like I have done mine, this strategy is based on my 4 strongest habits, and I direct those habits towards an attitude category 1 behavior. We don't want to fight. We can lose and get hurt. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we want to engage. We don't want to run away. Flee with a bang there's no payout line on that. We want to engage. We want to positively engage. We don't want to run away and hide away. No, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stay with this one. We want to engage in an unaggressive way, solve and make positive progress. We must make progress. Tomorrow evening, I must say, I am further away from the problem and I'm closer to a solution than I was yesterday. So every day there must be progress. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if we look at this and we take a sort of a final, let's put everything together in one piece. What we must do, obviously, is our 4 or 5 strongest habits can do it for us. It's actually the only source that we have that can do it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to go back in my own history, and I don't want to bother you with the work that I have done in my life. But I've read a few big books in my life, and I have worked with many people in distress. And what I have found is people collapse because the stress, the character of the stressor start to hammer them on their weakest behavioral patterns. And they make themselves available to be hammered on those weak habits. This, ladies and gentlemen, is very destructive. It destroys the individual. That's why I started with a warning of you must identify your 4 weak habits, your 4 habits that are soft and that could easily be threatened and be put under pressure. Steer your stress situation away from those behaviors. Mine you've seen: propensity to handle, routine, people, and altruism. I must steer away from these things. But then, ladies and gentlemen, I must actively engage and direct my strong habits to get involved, to get my hands on the solution, and to work actively engage the solution and the stress point in my life. And I must use my 4 habits to engage this towards creating every day as a better tomorrow. There must be progress. If we don't make progress, ladies and gentlemen, we're losing the fight. Then the stress will become more than what we are capable of dealing with. So if we don't do this, then we are in deep, deep, deep trouble. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with that, obviously, you will get the video and you must work through this, write out your plan, make it something that is upfront in your mind. I am extremely aware of my plan, ladies and gentlemen. I can, in the morning, first thing when I wake up, you can ask me, what is your strategy for today? I will tell you. I will take ownership of everything that I need to take ownership of, be responsible for. I will simplify whatever I can simplify to make it easy for me to deal with it. I will deal with challenges as a problem and stress points as a problem so that I can solve them. And I will be immediate if I can, react as quickly as can, because that's my friends. What you need to do is you need to identify your friends and direct them towards growing an attitude category 1 behavioral pattern, a habit of become involved, engage the stressor, work with it, be progressive, and stay low on aggressiveness, because an assertive aggressive behavior uses energy that we just cannot afford. We will send you the link for this webinar and this recording, ladies and gentlemen, but there's an easy invitation. If you know of somebody that is under stress, they can go to shadowmatch.com, complete the free code. You can get a free code on shadowmatch.com. Then once they have completed the worksheet, the system will direct them to their personal portal. There they can buy their full report for $5. $5 gives them their full report. They take the graph on the full report, send them this video recording, and help somebody to build an engine that could deal with stress. Stress, ladies and gentlemen, can destroy our lives. And it can destroy our physical health, our relationships, our careers, our jobs, and our well-being. If you have somebody in stress, if you have friends and family in distress, this is a simple but a powerful way of dealing with it in a positive way. Please, let's help one another as we have done, and let's filter this message into the lives of other people so that we help people deal with the challenges that we currently face in our world. With that, guys and girls, thank you very much for your attention and your time. It was nice to share the information and the power of the system with you. And with that, we end, and over to Lizette.
Thank you very much, Peter. Just quickly